Wish to see me, sir?
Yes, I did. You're dropping your nose too much in your turns.
Yes, sir. But I am aware of the fault, sir, and I will correct it.
Yes, it used to be a fault of mine, too, when I first started flying the Everest. A bit different from the old box kite, isn't it, eh?
Yes, sir.
I used to listen to those alarming tales of stalling her and getting into a spin, too. Still, it's your only fault, so you're not doing it all badly.
Thank you, sir.
So, do you feel up to it?
Beg your pardon, sir?
Going solo on the Abra.
Sure, I'm ready, sir.
Yes, I think you are. Well, if the weather's fine, you can take her up tomorrow morning.
Thank you, sir. Thanks very much.
My son, there's news. It's bad news.
No, it's not bad news.
Well, what is it then?
Well, it's no news at all, I'm afraid. You see, I just happened to be passing, and I am a friend of Alan's, Charles Gaylion.
Oh. Oh, yes, of course. Oh, dear, how rude of me to keep you standing here. Oh, please come in, Mr. Gaylion.
Thank you.
Well, Alan never stopped talking about you.
I'm at Marshfield Reserve Squadron.
Marshfield? Oh, fancy that. It's the other side of Caxton. Well, I never thought to see you here.
About 7 or 8 miles, I think. Probably a little less,
It
certainly
was
not anymore.
Charles on every other page of Alan's letters.
I've been there now for a couple of weeks.
I thought you'd still be in France.
No, they sent me back as an instructor.
Instructor now? Oh, fancy that.
I was just looking at the map before taking an advanced pupil on a flight by compass, and, well, there it was.
I'm sorry.
Oh, Beckett's Hill.
Oh.
It was something of a joke between us, you see. Alan used to talk of Beckett's Hill as if it were Paris or New York or somewhere, as if everyone should know exactly where it was, and of course, no one had ever heard of the place. Actually, I wasn't just passing, as I said just now. I have set out on a couple of previous occasions, fully intending to call upon you, but somehow changed my mind and took the car somewhere else. You see, I thought it might not be wise. I was right. Not wise at all, was it?
No, it was very good of you to come, Mr. Gaylion. I'm sorry, it's just when I saw you standing down there in the yard...
Idiot that I am, it never occurred to me that you might think I was bringing news of Ellen. I'm so sorry.
Please, sit
down. Thank you.
I'll make some tea. How long are you going to be at Marshfield?
Oh, I don't know. Well, that is, they don't tell you.
And then, will they be sending you back to France?
Yes, I expect so.
To Saint-Marie?
Well, that rather depends wherever they choose to send me, really.
Reported missing, that was all that they told me.
Well, I could tell you what he was doing at the time, how he was shot down, but I don't think it would help.
Can I ask you what you think?
I wouldn't want to raise your hopes, Mr. Farmer.
That's very honest. Thank you. Well, you'll be glad to be back in England, I expect.
Well, yes and no, really.
What, you missing the others in your squadron?
Yes, it sounds a bit silly, but yes, I do.
How's your mother?
Very well, thank you.
Is she still busy with her committees?
Alan certainly did tell you a lot in his letters.
And your father, he's a general, so he'll be busy enough, of course. Alan was always so proud of that, your father's high position.
Tell me, how's Alan's uncle? You know, that bulletproof seat he made for Alan was an absolute godsend, worth its weight in gold. In fact, we got the blacksmith at the depot to make one for all of us. Mind you, first thing in the morning, it's jolly cold on the old... What,
No, Harry's not here anymore. He works over at the shell factory at Burley Wood.
That's south of here, I think.
It's about 6 or 7 miles.
Hello, can I come in?
Oh,
I
Lorna.
got your eggs, but I can't... Stop. The omnibus leaves in 5 minutes.
This is Mr. Gaylion. Miss Collins, she lives down at the farm.
Yes, we have actually met once before.
Yes.
Just the one occasion.
Oh, when you went down to see Alan at the aeroplane factory. Oh, yes, I'd quite forgotten about that.
Oh, I can't stop.
Oh.
Mustn't keep the patients waiting.
Well, perhaps Mr. Gaylion will be able to call again.
Yes, I expect so.
Mr. Gaylion's teaching men to fly over at Marshfield.
Oh, fancy that.
Thank you.
I can't stop. I must go. Goodbye, Mr. Gaylion.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, don't forget Saturday.
Oh, no, I won't. Bye.
Oh, please sit down, Mr. Gaylion.
Thank you.
Well, you'll find it very quiet here, I suppose.
Well, it's a pleasant change from the mess at Marshfield, I can tell you. I don't know why, but for some unknown reason, as soon as chaps decide they want to learn to fly, they chatter incessantly, and always at the tops of their voices, desperately trying to exude an air of confidence, I suppose, convincing everyone else that they're not going to land upside down on the cabbage patch the following morning.
Well, you'll be able to get home now sometimes, I expect.
Well, yes, I can, although there's little point, really. My mother's hardly ever there, and Kate, she's my sister. She has her own friends, and, well, we don't seem to have much in common nowadays. Thank you.
Well, you would be very welcome to call here again. Lorna comes over here most Saturdays. Well, that is when she's not working in the hospital. I'm sorry, sugar.
Oh, thank you.
Actually, she's coming this Saturday.
Ah.
Alan was writing to Lorna, of course, but, well, there was so much that he couldn't say in his letters.
Yes.
I think she would like to know what Alan was doing for those last 3 weeks before he went missing.
You know, I have the distinct feeling the wind's going to drop, so I really oughtn't to stay very long. You see, we're only allowed to take chaps up in ideal conditions. That's mornings and evenings, mostly. Anything like a wind, it's considered much too dangerous for them. Although, personally speaking, I disagree. In fact, I disagree with the entire flying training system. Not that there is a system, really, and that's the trouble. You see, with so much emphasis placed on safety first, it means that chaps get over to France without any chance at all of surviving. Before they've learnt enough to get themselves out of trouble, they're shot down and killed. But I have been doing some serious thought about it and written rather a lengthy paper on the subject, containing suggestions for a proper flying training system under instructors who are specially chosen for the job. Oh, Lord, I'm sorry.
No,
Don't want to
it's
listen at all.
interesting.
Mrs. Farmer, I came here today to say... Well, frankly, I don't know what I did come to say, but... I want you to know that Alan was a very brave man. A very honest man, and we all liked him a great deal. And having come here and seeing this place, meeting you, I can understand. Speaking personally, he was the best friend I ever had. Well, I really ought to be going now, if you'll excuse me.
It was very good of you to come, Mr.
Oh.
Gaylion. If you're not doing anything better on Saturday, well, that is, if you would like to come.
Yes, I would like to come. Very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh, get your nose up. Get your nose up, you idiot.
Well, not too bad, I suppose, for my first solo in the Avro.
Not too good, either.
Thank the Lord Mr. Gaylion wasn't watching.
He was.
But he said he was going off to get a cup of coffee. That was decent of him. Thought it'd make me feel less nervous.
He was twitching like an old granny. You had your nose down in your turns again. Afraid of stalling and going into a spin, eh?
Well, better safe than sorry. Spinning means certain death.
It can also save your life. Spinning's a useful way of showing dead when the odds are against you with a Hun. Also enables you to lose height very quickly. So, by the time the Huns realise that you fooled him, you can be several thousand feet away and heading for home.
You mean you know how to get out of spins?
Well, if I don't, I've died at least a dozen times. You're next for the Avro, Mr. Tally Jones, outside in 5 minutes.
What's the betting he comes back to say the wind's got up and flying's cancelled?
I was lucky to get my solo in. All the other instructors cancelled flying an hour ago.
That windsock is barely moving.
But we can only fly in ideal conditions. It's the rules.
Yes, and these instructors are only too anxious to obey them. What they need is a month or two in the trenches.
I don't know why you transferred to the RFC.
Beginning to wonder myself.
Why did you, anyway?
The company was on the way back to the village after a spell down the line. 2 of those new German monoplanes attacked again and again. There was no cover of any kind. We didn't stand a chance against that forward-firing machine gun. That's for me, I said, showing them they can't have it all their own way. Anyway, it seemed to be the kind of action that I longed for. Seemed to be.
It's a bit different from charging blindly over the top, you know. Trained to be a pilot, the one thing you can't do without is patience.
I should have thought the prime requisite was having a spine in your back.
Oh, don't start on that again.
Well, why not? It's a damn disgraceful state of affairs, and time someone did something about
Look,
it.
I think you're making far too much of it.
Oh, you think it's all right then? Are being trained for war by men who've lost their nerve.
It's hardly war up there.
May not have been a month or two ago, but it damn well is now. The Hun is shooting us out of the sky like defenseless game birds.
Yeah, look, how can you be so sure that our instructors are men... well, men who've lost their nerve?
It's obvious, isn't it? They're so short of pilots out there, they wouldn't send the fittest chaps back as instructors now, would they?
No, they sent back the chaps who've been out there the longest. The ones who need a rest.
Yes, that's exactly how they phrase it. In need of a rest.
What's the alternative?
I don't know. But something must be done about it. Well, the Hun finds us easy meat when we get over there. They say it's because our machines are slow and poorly armed. But I believe men win or lose wars, not machines. Men. And men reflect the attitudes of their instructors. So if we're being trained for war by men who've lost their nerve, we're dead ducks before we're even hatched.
Come in.
Morning, sir.
Ah, Mr. Gaylion.
Sir, I shan't take up much of your time, sir. I just wanted to leave this with you.
I wanted a word with you, Gaylion.
Yes, sir?
You sent a pupil solo this morning.
Yes, I did, sir, Mr.
You were
Weston.
aware that all the other instructors cancelled flying training this morning.
Yes, sir.
They even decided against flying with their pupils. But you chose to send a man up alone on his first solo in the Avro.
Well, sir, I considered Mr. Westerly capable of flying solo, sir, despite the fact there was something of a north wind.
You were proved right. Fortunately. So what is all?
Well, sir, I've been giving the problems of flying training some serious thought, sir.
Oh, indeed. In all of the 14 days since you arrived here. You know, I've been concerned with flying training on and off for more than 3 years now, and I've given it hardly any thought at all. I've been far too busy teaching people how to fly.
Well, speaking personally, sir, that I'm not busy enough, and in my opinion, that's one of the main problems. You see, pupils don't get nearly enough flying time, sir.
We can recruit men to the flying corps, Mr. Gaylion. We cannot recruit the weather. You have been giving it some serious thought, haven't you?
Well, I'm sure it won't be a waste of your time reading it, sir. You see, it's a whole new system of flying training.
New system?
Perhaps I should say a system. I mean, well, we really haven't got any system at all at the present time, have we?
So, what do you expect me to do with this?
Well, sir, I wanted your opinion, and if it was favourable, I thought that you might recommend it to the commander of the training division.
I see. Well, I'll do my best to plough through it this weekend, and we'll have a chat on Monday.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gaylion.
Sir?
You've no other pupils flying this morning, I take it?
Well, sir, I had intended going up with Mr. Tower Jones.
That north wind has stiffened considerably in the past half hour.
Yes, sir, I had noted that.
So I think perhaps I ought to remind you of something I told you when you first arrived here, Mr. Gaylion. In view of the acute shortage of aeroplanes and pilots to fly them, I always urge my instructors to feel personally responsible for the loss of aircraft and pupils, particularly when they contemplate turning a blind eye to the rules made for the safety of one and all.
Thank you for reminding me, sir. Flying's been cancelled, I'm afraid, Mr. Tower Jones.
I thought as much.
I don't make the rules, you know.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Mrs. Farmer is expected.
Yes, please come in. She's out at the moment. She won't be long.
Oh, I brought these for Mrs. Farmer.
Oh, thank you. They're lovely. She'll like them. She loves flowers.
Splendid.
Oh, please sit down, Mr. Gaylion.
Thank you.
How's your mother?
She's very well, thank you.
She's still busy with her committees.
Oh, yes, she is.
Is your father still in France?
No, he's in England for a spell.
Oh.
Desk job, Director of Liaison Munitions.
Oh, I expect that's...
Yes, he's very busy too.
I expect Mrs. Farmer asked you all these questions.
Yes, she did. And in just that order. I expect you'd like to ask about Alan. What he was doing those last few weeks and so on.
No. I'd rather not. I'm sorry,
Oh,
I
no,
didn't mean
please,
to...
please, really, it's something for relief.
Is that why Mrs. Farmer asked you to come today?
Well, yes, she seemed to think that you'd like to know whatever it was that he didn't write in his letters. Obviously things that she would like to know herself.
It was more of a shock for Mrs. Farmer.
I don't quite understand.
Well, you could say I was more prepared for it, you see. I knew he wouldn't come back from France.
Well, he's only reported missing, you know. That doesn't necessarily mean to say that he won't be coming back.
When it came to the end of his leave, when it was time for him to go, I knew I should never see him again.
Mrs. Farmer isn't going to be long, is it?
Oh, no, she's down at Richard's farm with the wheelbarrow.
Wheelbarrow?
Well, yes, she and Tom had to mend the iron splits on the legs, and Richard wanted it for tomorrow.
Tell me that Mrs. Farmer, she actually works in the smithy.
Oh, yes, ever since her brother-in-law left.
Well, yes, she told me that Harry had left, but...
Well, you see, she couldn't afford to get another man. She couldn't afford to pay him, and so it either meant working herself or selling it. Well, this smithy's been in a farmer family for 4 generations. Her husband, Will, was proud of that.
Yes, I can understand. Oh, look,
Excuse me,
let me do that.
Oh, no.
No, come along. Now, where do you keep the coal?
Across the yard. Oh, you can fill it in the smithy, though. It's just through there.
You know, if you're so convinced that that he's not coming back, I do understand you not wanting to talk about it.
Mrs. Farmer still has hope. Well, that's why she likes to talk about it. It strengthens that hope.
Yes.
Sometimes I think it's wrong. My coming to sit with her and talk about it.
She asked me what I thought, you know. I said I didn't want to raise her hopes. Anyway, I was going to fill this, wasn't I?
Yes.
Probably best then if I steer the conversation away from him.
Yes.
Right.
Is he right?
Yes.
Where is he then?
He's in the smithy filling the coal scuttle.
Oh, Lorna, for goodness sake, you haven't sent the poor boy fetching
Not
coal.
sent him. No, he offered.
Well, you shouldn't have let him. He's a guest.
Well, so am I.
Oh, no, you know what I mean. He's not used to that kind of thing. He's a gentleman.
Oh, that's exactly why he wouldn't let me carry that heavy coal scuttle.
You should try lifting that milk churn of yours in the mornings.
I doubt he could.
He is nicer, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Have you talked about Alan yet?
No, not yet.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Farmer.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry I wasn't here when you arrived. Please don't
No, absolutely not. Not a bit of it. Now then, if you've been working in the smithy all day long, you'll need something of a rest. Now then, all has prepared the tea. So,
No, but...
no buts. Come and sit down. Really.
Thank you. Oh.
Mr. Gaylion brought you these.
Oh. Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
That reminds me of the time when Alan bought me flowers when he'd come back from training to see if he was suitable to be a pilot.
Yes, do you know, I remember that. In fact, I went to the shop and then Alan came in just after me and we both bought some. You know that flying training system I was telling you about? Well, I showed it to the OC today, Major Brownlow, and if he likes it and is prepared to recommend it, I'm going to send it to the commander of the training division.
Oh, that is good.
I'm really rather excited about it.
Oh, you've got some coal on your face.
Oh,
You
Where?
can wash at the sink.
thank you. Oh, good heavens.
This new training scheme, what difference will it make?
Well, it means that pupils will be properly trained.
Well, aren't they properly trained now?
No, they're not. Chiefly because of chaps like me.
I don't understand.
Well, we're not trained as instructors, you see. We're simply flyers who've done a long stretch to the front and been sent back to Blighty for a rest. I mean, none of us has any real interest in teaching people to fly, chiefly because we realise that it's a hopeless task. Well, that is, teaching people to fly in a few hours flying time, what they need to know to survive when they get to France, you see. Nowadays, pilots have to know all the so-called dangerous manoeuvres in order to get out of trouble when they're attacked by this new German monoplane. Well, it's risky enough for chaps like me to teach them the sort of elementary things like takeoff and landing. So we're not trained instructors, you see, and we're not prepared to take more than... Well, no, it's not a question of not being prepared. We're not allowed to take more than the minimum risk. And that's the core of the problem. Because instead of studiously teaching these pupils to avoid dangerous manoeuvres, we need trained instructors to actually teach them those manoeuvres so that when the chaps get out to France, they won't get caught out.
Oh, tea's already.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
When do you have to be back at Marshfield?
Thank you. Not until Monday morning, thank the Lord.
Well, if you like, you could stay the night. You'd be very welcome. Lorna, you could stay as well. And then it would be quite in order for Mr. Gaylion to stay.
Oh, try some plum jam.
Thank you.
Lorna made that.
Well, I must say it does look rather delicious.
You will stay then, won't you?
Yes, thank you.
I'd give anything to know where Alan is. He's been taken prisoner. I'm sure of it.
We'd have heard.
It's a mistake. Someone's forgotten to write his name down.
It's harder for you.
Why? Because I'm his mother, do you mean?
It's harder for you because it wasn't so much of a shock for me. I knew before he left.
You knew?
That he wasn't coming back.
It's a mistake. I'm sure of it.
Splendid. I hoped I'd get here before the omnibus. In you get?
But the hospital's in the opposite direction to your airfield.
Oh, is it really? My navigation's absolutely dreadful.
This is very kind of you.
Not at all. There's no life for a woman, is it?
What?
Mrs. Farmer.
Oh.
Well, I mean, well, you know, all that heavy work in the smithy and then alone night after night in that kitchen. You know, Alan never used to talk about his mother very much. We used to think about her a great deal. I do know that. The thing is, I feel sort of... Well, it's incumbent upon me. No, damn it, not incumbent, but... Hell, I just like to do something for her. Puzzle is what? I suppose I could call in once or twice a week while I was at Marshfield.
Yes, she'd like that.
And then again last night in bed, I had another thought.
You didn't sleep either.
No, not a wink, I'm afraid. Suppose Mrs. Farmer's never been flying?
No, she hasn't.
Huh.
Come in.
You wanted to see me, sir?
It's about this flying training scheme of yours.
Sir?
Mr. Gaylion, I'm fully aware that you've just spent 5 months at the front, and that during that time your squadron suffered very heavy casualties. However, I do think you ought to try to exercise a little more control, particularly when it comes to putting emotional rubbish like this onto paper and expecting your superior officers to take it seriously. No. You take my advice, you burn these pages, and then get on with the job you've been sent here to do.
Sir, if you'll forgive me, sir, I still think we're desperately in need of a proper flying training system, sir. Pilots are being sent over to France barely half trained.
If we followed your suggestion, they'd never even reach France. They'd all be killed in training, and us along with them.
Yes, sir, but we should...
Listen to me, Gaylion. I've been teaching young fools to fly for more than 3 years. During that time, I've had 17 crashes, and somehow, God knows how, I've survived them all. But they have taught me one very important thing. When you or I get into an aeroplane with a pupil, we are pitting our wits against a man and a machine, both hell-bent on our destruction. Now, do you seriously expect me to further risk this patched-up bag of bones by flying pupils in any old weather and trying to teach them stunts I haven't even a 50-50 chance of pulling off myself?
Well, sir, I did suggest that we did need properly trained instructors, sir.
Properly trained? The instructors here at Marshfield are some of the most experienced flyers in the corps.
Yes, sir, but they're not trained to teach, sir. They're just, well, chaps like myself sent home for a rest. Chaps who are, well, as you yourself said a moment ago, sir, are suffering the strain of flying over enemy lines for months on end.
I hope you don't preach these views of yours to your pupils, Mr. Gaylion.
No, sir, I don't.
Because I won't have you undermining pupils' faith in their instructors. And I certainly will not allow you to denigrate a group of very brave men for whom I have the utmost admiration, including yourself. Damn you. Now get out.
Here he comes now. If there's no flying this morning, then I shall have something to say.
Steady on, old son.
2 weeks and just over 40 minutes flying time. At this rate, it'll take me 12 months to get enough hours to be sent to France.
Look, I shouldn't go looking for trouble.
After 5 months in the trenches, I've become accustomed to looking for trouble. The thing I could never get used to was sitting around waiting for something to happen. I cast around for necks to break.
People who say that usually end up breaking their own.
Flying's been cancelled, I'm afraid.
Oh, shame.
So, I'll have an engine fitting lecture, hangar number 2.
Thanks.
I've been thinking over what you said the other day.
Well?
If you know how to get out of spins, then why aren't we taught the procedure? It seems to me it should be the first thing we're taught to do. If we got over the dread of spinning, it would remove a lot of the timidity and fear out of our flying. We could learn more quickly and confidently.
Any form of stunting with the people in the passenger seat is against the rules.
And as you say, you don't make the rules.
Mr. Tower-Jones, why don't you say whatever it is that you have in your mind?
Very well. I don't think the rules are made for the safety of the pupils, but for the safety of the instructors.
You can forget your engine fitting lecture. You're flying with me. I shall stall her, put her into a spin, and hopefully get her out. You watch your controls to see what I'm doing, and then you can take over. But just remember this. I'll show you how to get her out of a spin, and I'll risk my neck and my position here to let you have a shot at it. But you go around boasting that you goaded me into it, and by God, next time I will spin you into the ground. Outside as soon as you're ready.
John, there you are. Gosh, that was absolutely splendid. I drove out to watch it. Marvellous. Well, got spinning lick now, eh? Did you pull her out yourself, or did Mr. Gaylion take over?
No, I pulled her out myself.
Yeah, the OC didn't find out, did he?
No, he didn't.
Well, what's that then?
It's these instructors. I realized this afternoon what it must be like for them. Mr. Gaylion sitting in that spinning machine, staring death in the face, watching it come closer. He could have saved himself at any time by taking over the controls, but he didn't. He gambled his life. My inexperienced hand.
What's the procedure for putting her out? It must be quite simple if you managed it first time.
The theory of it is simple enough, but I'm not so sure it's infallible in practice. Well, there must have been an element of luck, I'd have thought. The first time I pushed on the rudder bar, nothing happened.
You pushed on the rudder bar, left or right?
The opposite direction to the way you're spinning.
And is that the first thing you do?
No. Firstly, you pull the stick back into your lap. Then you push on the opposite rudder. She starts to come out of the spin, then you throttle right up. You're not thinking of trying it, are you?
Why not? I've done my solo in the opera. I can take her up on my own now.
Stunting's against the rules.
Oh, you're a fine one to talk about the rules after today's little performance.
If the OC finds
I'll
out...
take that chance.
It's not you that I'm concerned about. It's Mr. Gaylion.
Well, you have had a change of heart, haven't you?
If anything happened to you, Mr. Gaylion could find himself in serious trouble. If you must try it, ask him to show
He
you how.
won't, because it's against the rules. He only showed you because you egged him on. And it was you who said that getting out of a spin should be the first thing that we should learn. So, what's next then? After you throttle right up?
This coat, it's not too shabby, is it?
We're only going up to the field, aren't we? And anyway, I mean, he might think it a bit of a cheat, me asking to fly instead of you.
No, of course he won't. He's much too nice. He won't mind a bit. Anyway, we can't have the poor boy bringing his aeroplane all this way for nothing. Very strange seeing an aeroplane down that field again.
He thought it would do you good.
Do me good?
That's why he wanted to take you flying. Well, all that heavy work in the smithy, he said, and then sitting here alone night after night. Well, it's no life for a woman, he said.
It's no life whirling about in an aeroplane, neither.
Why in God's name didn't you come and tell me what he had in mind?
I tried to. I couldn't find you.
If he was that keen, he should have asked me to take him up and show him how.
It's against the rules, so I didn't think you would. You only showed me because I goaded you into it. As I said, sir, it's my fault. I shall explain to Major Brownlow.
I'll tell him myself.
Look, sir, I think it's only fair that...
You've done quite enough already.
So you were joyriding with a lady friend when this happened?
Yes, sir.
In my time, I've had 7 pupils kill themselves, so I do know how you must be feeling.
He's dead?
Yes, afraid so. There'll be an inquiry, of course, but formality. I'd sooner forget the joyride with the lady friend.
Couldn't possibly forget the...
It only complicate matters. Serves no purpose. Whether you were here, in the mess, or in Timbuktu, there was nothing you could have done to save him.
But it wasn't an accidental spin, sir. Mr. Westerly got himself into a spin quite deliberately in order to get himself out again.
You went up to try that on your instruction?
No, sir, but I'm to blame, sir. You see, it's my responsibility.
You drink this. Come on, drink it. To make you feel better. Mr. Gaylion, I reminded you of something the other day. I said you were to feel responsible for your pupils. That's quite enough. I did not mean that you are responsible for it.
The war, he said. The war is responsible for Westerly's death. Sear's very decent.
You sound as though you wish you weren't.
Not at the time. I was relieved. Grateful. No. I know it was my fault.
You were doing what you thought was right. That training scheme of yours was to save young lives.
You know the reason they sent me back to England? I lost my nerve. That's what they do, you know. They send you back to teach people to fly. Soft time, you know, rest. I even make a mess of that. Look, I'll make some tea.
Would you like some cake with your tea or some Alona's plum jam?
You know the ironical thing? Tell myself I come here to cheer you up.
Well, I was singing in the smithy today and I haven't done that for a very long time. So, would you like cake or plum jam or...
Cake, please. But don't tell Lorna.
She said she might be a bit late.
Did she?
You could go and meet her if you like.
Yes, I could.
She takes the shortcut across the fields.
Hello?
Hello? Mrs. Farmer suggested that I came to meet you.
Do you want to come and feed the pigs?
Feed the pigs?
Come on.
You know, you're quite right. Mrs. Farmer hasn't given up hope. She's still quite confident that Alan's still alive.
I've told her what I think.
When?
Last Saturday night when I stayed there.
Come on.
Oh.
Do you know, it's funny. Well, yes, it's funny. Born and bred in the city, and yet I feel part of all this. Tell you something.
What?
Born and bred in the city or not, but I could race you to that fence.
I don't think you could. Alan could only run just that bit faster than me.
Oh, really? Well, we'll see about that. On the count of three.
All right.
Are you ready? 1, 2, 3!
Oh! You all right? We're here! I expect you've been wondering where we've been. Oh. Probably got tired of waiting. Gone back to work.
Oh, well, I'll go tell her we're here. Of course, Caxton's not that far away from Marshfield, is it?
No, it isn't.
Well, I just thought. You see, I do happen to know a rather nice little tea place in Caxton. Blame me if I haven't got one night you work up at the Grange.
Just the 3 evenings, Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays.
Well, Tuesday then? Thought I might make a pleasant change from, plum jam. What do you think?
That would be nice. And I can always get the omnibus.
Nope,
from
not a
Lovell-
bit of it. I'll come fetch you in the car. Tuesday then?
Yes, Tuesday.
Good.